Hi, I'm Tasha Cleveland with Latitudes Gallery, and I'm here once again to do live Makeover May room selections with Latitudes artwork. And one of the best parts of doing renderings for clients when we are in the gallery is the reactions to what we get to do in the computer and passersby, what they get to see and how much fun they have in watching the process. So I wanted to bring that to you again today. Once again, I'll be doing live Makeover May room renderings all month long so that you can see the process behind the scenes in making this happen. So let's jump into creating this room. This is Brian's entry, and Brian had requested some art for this wall. He had requested the aerial view of Ventura with the pier and showing Surfers Point. So that's this one right here. And I agree with him. I actually love the colors in this space. And there are actually two versions of this image. This is the cropped 3:1 ratio, and this is the original image. Now, I would love to put the original on this wall, but unfortunately, the builders had a different idea, and they put light switches right in the middle. This is a common problem, having light switches in a spot that is not best for utilizing the rest of the wall. And so that puts us in a different situation. We have to work around some of these things sometimes. Often there are vents like this one up here. Luckily his are on the ceiling, but a lot of times I'll end up with vents randomly on the wall, light switches right in the middle. A public service announcement to builders, if they could, if you guys could shift them over to the edge, it would make our life so much better when we're trying to pick art, because I know that's what you're thinking about. Here's another image that I pulled up that I thought would look really good on this wall. The reason I liked this image, I'll just leave this one here, is because I like the aqua colors in it, as well as the black and brown tones of the pier. So once again, just like Patty's room yesterday, anytime we can pull some of the colors from the space into the artwork, it's going to tie everything together in such a beautiful way. So I really, really love this image here. Once again, the shape doesn't work too well for us. This one's another option. And so are these guys that I just wanted to see on Brian's wall. Looking at all of the choices here, this one doesn't look aqua enough for me, so I'm going to let that guy go. And I'm still really loving this image as an option. Let's see. This one, the color in the water underneath Anacapa Island is really a beautiful match. And I love the dark. Do you see how that dark is picking up the chaise lounge right there? And the mid-tone browns tie in with the piano really well. You also get the wood flooring color right here and the highlights on Anacapa. So this one is quite beautiful on this wall. We'll have to see if it will work for the situation we have with the light switches. But let's look at this one really quickly. We've got those beautiful turquoise colors in this wave. And once again, those brown tones and some of those darks. But let's look at the one that he requested again. And I really do like the blue tones in the water. So I'm going to narrow it down. Love that one, but it's going to go. We're going to say goodbye to Rincon, and we're just going to work with these two today. We're going to look at what we like best. Now, I am going to hide Anacapa, and we'll start here. So with this wall, I probably want to see, I think I want to see the width of the windows. So oftentimes when I'm working with rooms, now this is a really fun window. Look at how asymmetrical that is. That's great. I love unexpected surprises when builders put these together. Really fascinating. So with this, we now have the option of matching that window width, and that's something I do pretty common. I like how the artwork can bounce off of existing lines in the space. It doesn't always work, but I always like trying it first and then seeing if something works better. So in this case, we're going to try that. We're going to see what we think. Now, generally, when you're hanging artwork, you want to aim for 60 to 66 inches on center, vertical center, for the level of the artwork. Because of these light switches, I think we're going to hit that spot pretty perfectly with this pano image. I really do like how it's filling the space above the light switch. Again, I wish we could play over the light switch, and we will in a second. But that's working pretty nicely. The other thing I like to look at when I'm selecting art for a space like this is balancing the furniture below it. And so anytime you can create a beautiful taper, it generally is more interesting to the eye. Either matching those lines like we are with the window, or creating a taper from the sides of that bench right here, going up towards the artwork. Those are going to be interesting things for your eyes to look at when you're looking at this space. So now looking at what we've got here, I'm just going to leave that there, and we're going to play with this wall now. Or we're going to play with this image. I really love this image, Brian. And I know you have Anna Kappa. I think you have Inspiration Point on a different wall in this house. So this is a different view of the same island that I already know you love. But let's just look at this. I really would like to see more height on this because this bench is so low. It's a low bench. There's no back to it. It leaves a lot of space above the bench. And right now I'm just going to play in an ideal world where I don't have to deal with light switches. And this asymmetrical window is a little bit challenging for me to figure out what level is with that line, but I'm going to guess. All right. So somewhere around here. Yeah, something like that is probably where I would land in an ideal situation where I didn't have to work around something already existing on the wall. I like having a little more height to the image. Yeah, I am liking that a lot. So let's talk about in your home, if you happen to have a similar situation where you've got a light switch right where you want the artwork to be, what you can do is you can oversize the artwork to overlap that switch, and you can install a little screw-in adapter into your into where the bulb screws in to your light socket. And those can come with remotes that you can put anywhere you want. And so you could screw that in before the bulb screws in and then move that remote anywhere you want. Then those light switches no longer exist. They just don't have to happen. And then you can stick that light switch on the coffee table. You can stick it onto your wall in a more convenient location, anything like that. Let's say you don't want to do that. Then we're going to look at this situation again. How close can we get to that light switch before it just doesn't work? With all art, you want to have breathing room. You don't want everything to be crowded. And I can't really see what's to the right of this wall. So I don't get to decide how far over we can really go. I'm going to go based on this bench. And I'm going to assume this bench is pretty much centered on what that wall is. And so let's look at this. I'm going to try and actually let me duplicate it so that we can look at it both ways. And I'm going to hide the other one, and now we're going to cut this one up. All right, so let's assume we cannot overlap that light switch what do we do? So what I would look at is playing with probably a demi ratio. Now a demi ratio is a 2-to-1 ratio instead of, let me show you again, instead of this 3-to-1 ratio where the width is 3 times the height. I'd like to look at maybe a demi ratio, and let's try to get as close as we can to that light switch without it being too crowded. So we're going to go back to this one. We're going to look at it again. I really do love this picture on your room, in your room, Brian. So now let's trim this image. Now this isn't, again, this is something I get to do because I'm the design consultant at Latitudes. Not everybody gets to play this way, but when you talk to our art stylists and you reach out to me, this is something that we get to play with one-on-one with you guys. So it's not something you can do online. It's something you definitely need to reach out and get some help with. So I am going to, oh, be nice. That's what I was looking for. There we go. So I'm going to trim this just a bit because I would like to see a little more height. I want something in the middle. I don't necessarily want it to be a pano ratio because it leaves so much space below the art before the bench. But I also don't want to overlap that light switch. We're going to pretend that Brian is in love with that light switch right where it is, and we're going to keep it. So that looks about a 2-to-1 ratio. I'm going to trim it just a tad more from the top, and I'd be more precise if we were playing in the gallery. I need more breathing room. So I like that. I like that midline right there. I think we're going to trim just a tad more off the bottom. I hate to lose that kelp, but gotta happen. Here we go. Now let's look at it again. So if I can play in a 2-to-1 ratio, that gives me just a tad more height to our image and lets me drop down. I definitely don't go closer than an inch before the light switch. We want to be able to touch that without touching your artwork. But I am certainly a fan of outlets and switches disappearing into spaces. Because it's definitely not the focal point. It's not something you're looking at. You want to look at the art. So I really do like that 2-to-1 ratio. That's pretty much landing there. I would say that's probably a 25 by 50, Brian. Guessing that bench is closer to just over 60. So probably 25 by 50 here. Let me see if I can go any bigger. I don't want to crowd those windows. We want at least the spacing above the windows to be below the windows. We don't want to get any tighter than that. But I also want to take the attention away from what I don't want to be looking at. Ooh, I am really liking that. Liking that a lot. Okay. So we are just under the width of those windows, which I do like. I don't know if I like them matching the windows. Let's look at it first. These are all things that are so much easier when we work this way and we eliminate all the guesswork. We can play with everything before it's created, and that completely changes the game. We're not guessing anymore. Okay, let me straighten that line up. We want our vertical lines straight. There we go. I liked it smaller. So there's something that I really liked about it being just a touch smaller than those windows. Gives it a little more breathing room above. Yeah, I'm much happier there. Gives it more breathing room above the artwork and below the artwork. That might be a 55, somewhere around there. I'm liking the spacing above the light switch, so I'm pretty happy there. Now let's go back. Remember how I showed you that there were actually 2 of these images? The one that Brian initially requested, that's this one. But there's also the original. Now from the original that had not been trimmed yet into a pano ratio. See this one? Is this the original? No, those are 2 different images. You can tell by the sky. Do you see that beautiful cloud right there? That is not there. This is a different image. And I see more waves right here. So let's play with this one. Oftentimes this will happen in the gallery. There will be I'll call them a sister image, where we have two images that almost look identical, and at first glance you think they are. And then when you look a little closer, you realize that there's some nuances that are a little bit different about them. But what's great is that Stephanie and Steve do take the time in a photo shoot to take all of these options for us, so that when we're in this phase of the process, that I have choices, and you've got choices in what shape you're putting on the wall, not just size. It's not always just about size. It's also about what shape we're working with. And we want those shapes to balance what's left in the space. So now I'm going to take this standard ratio image, and I'm going to trim it to the 2:1, just like I did with the other image. We'll see how close I can get. Great. Now let's look at this. I want to get a 2:1 on here. I miss that blue sky. I'm going back. I want some of that blue in here still. Really like that dark blue. Yeah, giving me a little bit of anchor. I do love that this blue of the ocean is actually a closer match to the bench. Who knew? Yay, that's fun. All right. We're still a little bit high for a 2:1. I'm gonna have to lose some of that sky. I'm not happy about it. All right, there we go. Yeah, there we are, 2:1. All right, now let's go back. I'm going to drop this guy on top of Channel Islands, which I already know I love. Now, let's put this one and match it up. Since I already did the work, I'm just going to match it. Now, this is for Makeover May, and Makeover May is a giveaway we do in the month of May, where Latitudes Gallery has a giveaway where at the end of the month, we are going to select one winner randomly out of all the room submissions. All you have to do is take a picture of your room and submit it. And then we will create these beautiful renderings for you so you can see our artwork on your wall. And then at the end of the month, we're going to pull a winner. Now, when you submit your wall, you can ask if there's something you want to see on your wall, or you can let us pick. Brian had said that he might like to see this. It wasn't a certain thing. If he was absolutely certain, then I certainly wouldn't be playing with other things. But he said maybe. So that's why we're looking at a couple different things today. So let's look. I've got this guy matching this one. Beautiful. That makes me happy. Okay. So there's something happening right now that I'm kind of in love with. Do you see the difference between this image on Brian's wall and this one? Oh, even though I do love that one on your wall, Brian, I really, really do. There's something that's so phenomenal about this arch of the piano matching Anna Kappa's arch, and this darker piece that it's mimicking your room so beautifully. But when we look at this, do you see the difference in how the darkness of this image versus the lightness of this one? And there's something so light and airy about this image where it's allowing us to get closer to those lines, those edges that we're limited by. It's letting us get closer without it feeling crowded. So it lets us go to a bigger size piece of art, whereas I don't think this one's giving us as much breathing room visually as this one is. Do you see the difference? So, as much as I adore this image, I am going to go with Brian's original suggestion of the aerial view of Ventura Pier with Surfer's Point in the background. And that is today's live room rendering. Please check back with us. I will be doing these all week long, all month long for the month of May. And at the end of the month, we are going to choose a entry from our Makeover May giveaway. You can find that out at latitudesgallery.com. Makeover May will give you all the details of how you can enter. Thanks so much, and I appreciate you joining me today. Thanks so much. I'll see you tomorrow.